So today is our day of reflection around the full moon. It's ancient Buddhist tradition going all the way back to the time of the Buddha to use the full moon as a time to atone, atone for how we've caused harm in the past month, renew our vows to practice the precepts, which is kind of like Buddhist ethics guidelines, the precepts. And in our particular ceremony, the way we do it here, the Fusatsu ceremony, we also invoke the names of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and embody them and manifest them for ourselves. The Buddha of compassion, the Buddha of wisdom, the Buddha of practice and love, action, the future Buddha, the Buddhas that are alive today, all of you, all of us. So I hope you got a chance to feel that deep atonement and reflection. And it's kind of traditional for us to, each month, we pick one of the 10 Bodhisattva precepts to kind of focus on. And this month's is, I think, a particularly interesting one. I know I say that every month, right? Every precept is special. But this one's interesting. This one is the precept of not being angry, refraining from anger. And we'll look at a bunch of different translations in a bit. But I think this one's particularly interesting because it's the only precept that addresses our emotions. All the other ones are kind of about actions: non-killing, non-stealing, not abusing sexual conduct, not lying, not gossiping. But this one is telling us how to feel, face value at least. Don't be angry. Seems kind of silly. Because we know how involuntary emotions can be. So, I don't know, as I was thinking and reflecting upon this precept, I think it's kind of maybe like a holding place or a marker for all of our emotions. This is the precept of emotions generally. And from that standpoint, it could be don't feel emotions, which is interesting. And really, if you think about it from a Buddhist standpoint, you can kind of spin it to really apply to every emotion. Don't be happy. Don't be happy. Happiness can cause attachment. Happiness, I don't know about y'all, but for me, when I'm sad or nervous or anxious or angry, I pay more attention to people. I'm more sensitive to other people's suffering. And then when I'm happy, I'm just like, and I can become insensitive. And in fact, I, talk about this a lot, and I'm not supposed to. It's supposed to be secret. But in our tradition, when you get transmission as a teacher, there are these secret documents that you have to copy by hand. And it's like 100+ pages. It's this very tedious process. But there's this one part, it talks about all these different aspects of awakening and the lineage and practice. And in one part, it says, with enlightenment, all joyous feelings are extinguished. How about that? So, what a ridiculous thing. Don't be happy. Don't be angry. Don't be sad. Being sad means that you wish it were another way, which we know from basic Buddhism, that's the cause of suffering. So what do we do with this? Don't feel emotions. Because emotions are not just caused by circumstance, right? I'm pretty sure we've all had the experience of waking up angry for no apparent reason, or feeling sad for no apparent reason. Some of us get bouts of depression where we can't move for no apparent reason. Um, Emotions can be ancient, they can be inherited through our lineage, they can be inherited, from the interconnected point of view. Sometimes I feel like I'm inheriting the emotions and the trauma from, you know, an Inuit person 800 years ago. That's mine. And that's kind of nice when we can really expand and embody this oneness of time and space. Then everyone's joy, everyone's pain, everyone's trauma throughout space and time is in me. We carry it always. Um, so, what do we do with this precept, right? I think most of us have been here for a while. We have a precept practice, and so we know that these precepts aren't about do this or don't do that. It's more about pay attention. Pay attention to killing, stealing, lying, talking trash on people, throwing shade, being angry, having emotions. Um, I think really the right interpretation of this don't be angry is quite the opposite. Don't ignore anger. Honor anger. Pay attention to anger and all of your emotions. It's such a shame that a lot of people, I've even been to Buddhist temples where the person giving the talk is like, you'll know a truly enlightened person when they're just neutral all the time and they don't feel anything. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like I said last week, um, this practice sensitizes us. We get more sensitive to ourselves, to others. We get in touch. So this precept is really about being intimate with anger. And from my own experience, I think I've had the most, quote unquote success, at least, um, working with anger in Zazen. For years, I've always struggled since I was a kid. I've always struggled with like repress, 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 explode. And it was causing a lot of pain for myself and others. But little by little, I really do think that in this safe container of Zazen, working, practicing with a Sangha, a community that I trust, I've been able to really just be anger and invite it and feel it fully. There are whole Zazen periods where I'm just like shaking with rage, whether it's triggered by an external circumstance or not. And just by simply honoring it, by being it and embodying it, I really have noticed a shift in my life. And my relationship to anger is softer. And they say the other side of anger is discriminating wisdom. So we can transform all of our emotions, negative and positive, and channel them or see that they are the other side of wisdom and compassion. Um, so, yeah, what a nice idea that this guideline for ethics is to really invite and feel your emotions fully. And, I think we use anger here. Like, why would anger be the one emotion we have a precept about? Well, I think anger maybe is, the emotion that most likely turns into violence, which is kind of an extreme form of causing harm. So I guess that's useful. But to really see it in terms of our entire emotional life, I really think our emotions are the key to experiencing our interconnectedness. and our oneness. And we see it's just evident, right? It's not a philosophy or a teaching. Just try it out. Be intimate with your emotions and see how it affects how you relate to others. So we have a study guide for our precepts, and we have 3 of our 4 Jukai recipients this year here today, and so they've been reading the study guide pretty diligently. And then part of the guide is there are these deep dives into each precept where we have different translations of the precept and different what they call practice slogans. So I just wanted to quickly read some of them to get a 360 view of how we can look at this not being angry. And then I want to hear from you all and your experience with your anger practice or emotion practice. So here's a translation that says, refrain from anger. Refrain from anger. That sounds like repression to me. An ancient Sanskrit translation, I undertake the item of training which consists in abstention from hatred. Changing hatred into compassion, I purify my mind. So how do we change anger and hatred into compassion? I saw, my friend sent me a TikTok video the other day, and it was this young, maybe European guy, and he was like, if you wake up angry, just tell yourself how beautiful life is. There's no reason to be angry. Just be grateful for everything and how wonderful everything is. And flirt with life, and you'll see how everything is so beautiful. And you just want to punch this handsome young man in the face, you know? So no, that's not how we transform our anger. We get to know it. We feel it deeply. And in the context of Sangha and Zazen, we get to do that without acting out on it, right? So obviously acting out on our anger causes harm. And so if we're at work or if we're dealing with a kid, then yeah, it's great to have tools to calm down, put the anger aside for later, right? We do want to develop those tools for sure. But to really deeply and authentically transform anger into compassion, you got to go through. You got to know it inside and out. I really like Dogen's interpretation of this precept. He says, not being angry, it is not regress. It is not advance. It is not real. It is not unreal. There is illumined cloud ocean. There is ornamented cloud ocean. Dogen is a frustrating poet sometimes. So yeah, I'm going to talk about anger. It is not regress. It is not advance. So being angry isn't bad. Being angry isn't good. It isn't real. And it isn't not real. So again, just trying to get us to let go of our ideas and maps and philosophies on how to do this right. Just be intimate with all the emotions that come up, knowing that they're not real and that they're not unreal, that they don't take you back, they don't take you forward, they don't have to. They are Buddha actualized in this moment. And then he says there's illumined cloud ocean. So I think this is an expression of the great, vast, empty oneness. This one illumined this. And there is ornamented cloud ocean, which points to the other side of all the little differences and phenomena. So it's this one vast empty light, and it's this bustling mix of karmic diversity. And so to really allow for all of that, going backwards, going forwards, being deluded, being enlightened, being angry, being happy, experiencing unreality, reality, vastness, pettiness, all of it is our Buddha nature manifesting, not to attach to any one thing. What a strange way to talk about our emotions. And then Bodhidharma, going back 1500, 1600 years, Bodhidharma says, self-nature is inconceivably wondrous. It's not real, it's not unreal. Inconceivable. In the Dharma of no self, not postulating a self, is called the precept of refraining from anger. How about that? So just allowing the concept that I exist as a separate entity, the minute we do that, we give rise to all of the emotions. Anger, happiness, sadness, excitement, confusion, jealousy. There's another koan that says if you establish a single particle, the whole world thrives. The minute I have any notion of self, I invite anger, not just my own, but the anger of the entire universe throughout space and time. So let's take a look at these practice slogans. And if there's one that, strikes you in any kind of way, maybe take that with you this week. So the first one is do not create a self. Do not create a self. Again, it's impossible. So we just sit with that. How do I create a self? What does that feel like? How does it affect my actions, my internal and external life? Do not create your own storyline. How about that? And there's a little blurb here. When we look at just our own point of view, we create our own soap opera, our own story that excludes all other points of view. The wisdom side of anger is discriminating wisdom. What reality do you create around your anger? Super rich, creating my own storyline. That is just an infinite practice because we're constantly doing it. And so many things that I just take for granted, that I just think are obvious, when I open up, when I quiet my own storyline and open up to the world, I realize that they're not so obvious, and that other points of view can really expand my understanding and my relationship to this world. Drive all blames into one. That's interesting. How do we blame, and how does that inform our emotions, and how is our blame caused by our emotions? And again, these emotions, I really believe that we do not know where they come from. I do not think it is the external circumstance that causes me to be angry. I think I carry the anger of my ancestors. I think I carry the anger of everyone's ancestors throughout space and time. And so when someone doesn't text me back, I'm not really angry at them. My ancient, deep, embedded anger has just found a conduit to come out. I don't know. I'm not, saying that's a philosophical truth or anything, but it is an interesting thing to live with. Um, don't reject apologies. It's interesting. Don't make excuses for your behavior. Practice acceptance of what is. Not harboring is key. See everything as an opportunity. Every time I get angry, it's an opportunity. Every time I get ecstatic and excited and happy, it's an opportunity to look within. Where is that coming from? How does that affect the people in my life? Um, Penetrate your anger and the issues that lie beneath it. Examine cause and effect. What causes my anger? What are the effects of my anger? When are there no causes for my anger? Accept responsibility for action and reaction. Examine your criteria for right and wrong. So much of my anger comes from that. It should be this way. This is right, that is wrong. Such and such doesn't align with that, so what if we can change that? Loosen that. And the last one's kind of interesting. There are no mistakes. There are no mistakes, only opportunities. So, as we can see, this precept practice is super rich and lifelong, and really has nothing to do with don't do this, don't feel that. And it really is much more of an invitation to go in. Honor your anger. Don't ignore your anger. Be your anger. Love your anger. That's how I feel into this precept.